We're gonna open up the Water and Sewer Commissioners meeting in July 10th at 7:10. We have on the agenda, we're gonna skip the agenda and go into the irrigation discussion with Kathleen.
Okay, you can.
Can you
Kate's
just-
fine.
Okay,
I was like, can you just state your name so we can put it in the meeting minutes?
Oh, sure. It's Kate Sinelli. Cinelli.
And you're at Joseph?
22
22
Joseph
Joseph.
Road. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you had some questions on the irrigation system, which we kind of like have a band on it
Yeah, a ban was put in place back in 2001.
for quite a while.
Is there language someplace or bylaw, some kind
I'd
of
have to
written-
find it. I
some
can't
kind of-
remember if it was in the bylaws or
I
the
believe it's in the
policy.
bylaws,
I believe
but-
it is in the bylaw, but
We have to
it
try
was-
to find it.
the state started pushing for water conservation.
Right.
And it's actually in our permits. Like, we have a water ban in effect right now. So every year from May 1st to September 30th, we have to put a water ban in effect. So it says no non-essential outdoor
Right.
watering or use, but it's between the hours of 9 and 5. So if you had an irrigation system or if you wanted to water your lawn, you can do it outside those hours. The theory is that during those hours, the sun's high. When you put water on the lawn,
It'll-
first of all, the droplets will burn the grass.
Right.
And then it also evaporates more than it soaks in for the lawn.
Yeah.
So
Kind of defeats the purpose.
right,
It really does. I mean, you kind of
it's
like
just kinda-
burn your lawn if you water during the day.
Yeah.
just promotes better practices. So
Yeah, and that's what we do now. We wait until the sun goes down, and I'm sure every other town, I know we lived in Uxbridge before, and during the summer, they had the ban as well for those that time.
yeah,
frame.
every town that had a new water management act permit, which I think everybody's been updated since they started doing that.
Okay,
Because I think we're on like year 16 out of a 20-year permit. So
okay,
it was that long ago that they started implementing those things. But so
We mainly have it in effect to conserve water. You know,
yeah,
Mainly.
and that's, in the letter, I think it's more efficient to have the sprinkler system. Just it's timed. You're not wasting water going out and watering and letting the hose run, and at least it's a systematic time that it would go on and off, and schedule it for those hours, after hours. I think it's beneficial, and definitely with the conservation for water, we thought of that as well. So
And I think that's been in the news. Some communities have run out or run low or
yeah,
had concerns about not
Well,
being
like
able to fill their tanks.
2 weeks ago they had to
Yeah.
kind of tell people just to try not to use water at all, just so they could try to catch. I don't know if that was Chelsea or I forget Swansea.
Yeah.
It was one of those
I think
towns.
it was-
and we would abide
Yeah,
by
it's cool.
anything that
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we have a free fall because we have sprinklers. We would abide by what the town says,
Yeah.
during such periods.
However, I don't think we have any private
Regulations.
customers on sprinkler systems right now. There was a couple of grandfathered, and
Yeah, there's-
way before my time. So,
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
there was some that have been in like since before 2001. We probably got a couple dozen that are residential.
Yeah.
There's a few commercial ones, but those
you don't really
those
have that many.
no, I got a list of them.
systems,
But
yeah.
No, but those were all grandfathered in, I think,
Yeah.
prior to this.
so, I mean, the option would be that the board could vote to eliminate the ban to allow sprinklers, but in order to do that, we'd have to put some kind of policy in place.
Okay.
So, I know Colin was kind of in favor of.
Yeah,
Get rid
because
of
that's the other. It's a
Yeah,
double-edged sword. I mean, we want to conserve water. We want to preserve water. Promote water conservation. But in the same breath, we're in the business to sell
Selling
water.
water. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a double-edged sword because you want to promote the conservation, and we've got to worry about our permit and what we're allowed to draw. new buildings coming into town and stuff, we gotta worry about what we're pulling, so that we don't exceed the permit either, so.
We haven't exceeded the permit yet, have we?
No.
Are we even close, or?
I mean, we've pretty much got enough to cover the construction that's currently permitted and moving forward. But I can say that I kind of agree with your argument, because I'm an example of it. Because I planted new grass back, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I planted new grass. I'm like, I gotta water it to get it to take. Well, I put the sprinkler on, but then I forgot it. So all my new loam and seed went to my neighbor's yard. So they had nice new lawn, but all of mine washed away, but the
Yeah.
water ran all night long, so.
There you
Whereas
go.
if I had a sprinkler system,
Time it.
it would have been set and done.
Yeah.
I can tell you that one of the things, it would be up to the board, but one of the things that I would put in the policy is that you have to have one of those rain sensors.
Oh,
They're very cheap, so when you put them on, it sets it, so if it rains, then it won't
Go off.
sprinkler
Yep.
for 3 days or whatever.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've seen a few sprinklers. In fact, I think the town has one.
for,
That it's pouring rain out and the sprinklers are on.
oh yeah, we've had that conversation in the past, but. So,
So with the ban, so is there any room, because there is a ban, would you decide like a one-off for us to have it?
No, I don't think we
Or-
could do a one-off.
right, I think they would have to kind of,
Yeah, we
Make
yeah,
a
and this
decision.
could just trigger a conversation that we've casually had in the past. And I know one of the other commissioners is, an advocate of the point that we're in the business to sell water.
And conserve
So,
it.
and
Like
conserve
Right.
it, yeah, it's just,
Right.
it is a double-edged sword, so, and, this may just give us the opportunity to have the discussion ourselves and put something in place to maybe accommodate.
Is there a time frame that
Um,
that conversation would happen?
so
Or-
the board only meets once a month at this point.
Yep.
So it would probably be, I mean, I don't know if you guys wanted to discuss it later tonight. It would be new business.
Well, I
since
think
it-
we should have the full board to.
Right, well,
Yeah.
like I said, he said he might be here, so
Yeah.
if he is here, like I said, I always got the feeling that he was pro eliminating the ban, so
Yeah.
that could possibly be a vote in your favor, so you would want him here anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
But like I said, I would have to, if we did do it, I would have to put together a policy. So I would have to write a policy before we could put it in place anyway.
Okay.
So it would take a little time, so unfortunately you'll have to use your hose and
My
sprinkle
husband go out there and, yeah.
I don't know if it
for a
could
little
have
longer.
anything for next month or not. I don't know.
So
We're
that,
gonna have
I
to
also
look.
have to look into that, cause if it's a bylaw, it's a bigger problem, we have to go to town meeting with it, and that wouldn't be until November. So if it's a bylaw, then that's much harder, if it's a policy, then we can do that
Okay.
quicker and easier.
Yeah, we're not sure if it's a bylaw or not.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's just a town policy, but
You think it's a bylaw?
I always thought it was a bylaw.
we have the water ban is bylaw.
Yeah.
That's written in the bylaw, but I'm not positive that the irrigation
Alright.
ban is in the
We'll do a little
bylaw.
homework to do on that.
Yeah, so I'll look, we haven't really had anyone come in and actually, I mean, people have called and I've asked them to come to the board, just to have the conversation so we could have something to move on, but, nobody ever comes. You're the first one that actually
Oh.
either sent a letter or showed up, so we did both, so.
Yeah, we really want the irrigation. Yeah, so I, we appreciate just the conversation to have it, and anything you could do to move it forward would be very much appreciated. It's a new build, new lawn, trying to,
Right.
keep it.
That's a nice subdivision over there, so.
Yeah, they did a nice job. So, but yeah, it would be advantageous, just to have it. And like you said, it's like with the timers and and we're rule followers. So if there is something that comes down that says you can't use it at all for a certain period of time, we just switch the timer off and be done with it. But yeah, we wanted to do it the right way and you know, have approval or whatever we needed to get the irrigation system put in.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So if the other commissioner shows up, they can have that conversation tonight. If not, it'll be the next meeting.
Okay, next month. Do you have it the same, is it like
It's usually the second Wednesday of every month.
second Wednesday of every month? Okay. And then if you need us to come back,
Yeah, I have your phone number and email, so I can reach out and let you know which way it's going. or
yeah,
not.
perfect.
Um,
Do you have a card by any chance?
yes, I'll get it for you.
Hello? Oh, hi, how you doing? Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, like I said,
Yep,
it's
that's
just
fine.
it's very much appreciated. I just
All right.
thanks for
Thank you.
listening.
Yeah,
to
no,
give us the
definitely,
time
definitely.
to plead our case. So.
Well, like Bob said, we asked people to come in so we can have the discussion, and you're the first, so. So.
Oh, I'm glad. That's
Yeah.
good. Do I
Yeah.
get a prize?
Yeah.
I guess a
Hopefully
Stanley
an-
Cup.
Hopefully an approval for you.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. Well, it was nice meeting
Yeah,
everybody.
nice meeting you too.
All right,
Thank
same
you.
here.
It
We'll
just,
work on this and
yeah.
get back to you.
Perfect. Thank
And
you
if-
so
thank
much.
you.
If the other board member doesn't come in, I can start to draft a policy so that if they have a full board next meeting and they can make a determination, I can have something for them to review and see if they approve it.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you.
Nice meeting
You're
Thank you,
everybody.
nice to meet you.
All right, well, we can't review and approve minutes of meetings. I don't see any here. He hasn't had time to get them out.
No, I mean, well, she's been very busy with
Yeah, I know.
end of year closing and everything else, so.
All right.
But I do have the sewer and water reports. So we can
Mhm.
go through those. Monthly sewer report for June. Rain was 4.97 inches. Flow was 5,194,476 gallons for an average of 173,149. Synagro hauled off 95,700 gallons. We wasted 93,345 gallons for an average of 3,112 gallons per day. We used 1,045 gallons of alum, 0 gallons of sodium hydroxide, 306 kilowatt hours of electricity, and the river averages at about 8.741 cubic feet per second for the month. Backflow devices were tested, preparing for the third quarter toxicity, and consistently having consistency and communication issues with Synagro. So I know we brought it up a couple times in the past that we've had issues with Synagro picking up, and even the communication with yes or no, we're going to get them. They'll say yes, then they never show up, or they say no, and all of a sudden they show up. Now, when they say no and they show up, sometimes we can't be ready because we have to shut things off, let things settle to thicken the sludge some, so we're not just sending the water. But then we also got a letter from Synagro saying that the where we send it to in Rhode Island, the town that hosts that says that they're going to discontinue taking out-of-state sludge. So we've got to look at what our options are and try to put another plan in place. The only other place that I know that was kind of performing this was in New York. So the cost could go up significantly.
Well, wouldn't that be up to Center Grove to find?
Not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
It's out of their control, even though it's not a legitimate, what do you call the act of God there, the force majeure. They probably try to claim force majeure because they're out of their control because they kind of rent the place, they don't own it. So if they lose that contract, they can't bring it to that facility, so.
And what's the issue with using Upper Blackstone?
We've got to get approval. We've been working on that for quite some time because we kind of somewhat saw this coming. Just with all the issues over the past couple of years with Synagro. So we've been working on it, but it's very difficult to get approval through Upper Blackstone. They're a lot more stringent than Rhode Island was. But we have been working on that, and we worked out a deal with a hauler that would haul it to there. But like I said, we gotta get approved for Upper Blackstone. Upper Blackstone's usually pretty near capacity, which is why they are very stringent on their rules on what they take. But like I said, the only other one that I knew of outside of that was in New York, so if we have to go there, it's probably gonna be a significant increase, which this is already our biggest line item on the budget. So,
I mean, are there any other local plants in this situation?
oh yeah, all of Massachusetts, like, I wanna say 28 of them in Massachusetts that go to this plant. And that's also Connecticut, there's a, you know, other states also that go there, but I think there's some in New Hampshire that go there as well. So, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people, which also makes it more difficult to
Yeah.
get into the other places, so. But, yeah, as soon as I hear more, I'll keep you guys updated, but I haven't got the official letter yet, they just sent me a letter of what was intended. All right, that's all I got on that. Any other questions on sewer report? So I got the 3 water reports. Do you want me to read through each one, or do you guys just wanna read them?
Why don't you go through the most recent one? Otherwise, it's gonna be on record as the shortest meeting ever.
I don't have a problem with that. Had the shortest selectmen's meeting last night, 6 minutes. All right, so the June report for flow from May. Total gallons pumped were 8,106,800 gallons for an average of 261,510. Total KOH used was 584 gallons. Chlorine was 212 gallons of batch solution. Coliform sampling was done. All the results were clean. System repairs. We did the 3 pH probes for the pump stations. They fixed the hydrant at 31 Gilboa, but the hydrant branch line has a leak, so we still need to dig up Gilboa Street and fix that. It's not on the new section, so we're okay there. 3 West Street had a leak on the customer side, so that line was replaced by LaFrance. We put a new meter, radio, and valve in that. We fixed the hydrant down here at the treatment plant. Had to put a new main seal, drain rubber, bonnet packing. Replaced 4 meters. Did 7 final reads. We did not do any new connections or meter installs. Steve kind of took apart the seized idler pulley on the bearing on the tractor mower deck to get it temporarily running, because we got a quote from John Deere of 4,500 and
45
something.
or 48, somewhere.
Something
in
like
there.
that. It
So
was-
it's something ridiculous.
It was over 4,500, and I don't think I paid 4,000 for that tractor when we bought it new.
Yeah.
So when I said that to him, he says, "Oh yeah, you can buy a new tractor for that."
Yeah.
And that was, they wanted that much just to fix the deck. So anyway, we did a hydrant flow test at the fire station just to determine what we have flow up in that area. Steve re-threaded the damaged hydrant nozzle at the treatment plant and cleaned up the Toledo machine. Any questions on water?
Nope.
What's the here? So project updates. I don't know if you guys have drove around, but you know all the paving's redone now. I think this paving came out much better. I think the paving on Northeast Main with the curbing and everything came out nice. We've had a few issues because when they redid that road, we did a total reclaim instead of just a mill and overlay. In the contract, it was supposed to be maintain existing grade. When they did the reclaim, they pulverized and did not remove enough material, so it brought the grade up a few. Well, in some areas, it was almost 5 to 6 inches high. So that caused some problems with the transitions to driveways. We were arguing with the contractor over a lot of that. He said he didn't include driveway aprons, but obviously you have to do something because,
Yeah,
you know, the classic Mustang or the show car up at the top of the road there, his car won't make it up a 6-inch lip. So we got a lot of that worked out. I think we only have one driveway left that's a problem. We're still working with them on that. We got them to repair all the lumen seed behind the berm that we put in because they didn't do that properly the first time. They just finished that up yesterday. I think that came out much better. I don't know if you guys have been up in that area. The Gilboa pump station, you see they paved the driveway over there. They put the fence up. That pump station's pretty much ready to, all set and done. A couple issues with, they installed the conduit incorrectly the first time. They didn't do it per spec either, so they had to rip all that out. I think they were a little upset that they had to rip it out, so some of the panels, the pump station control panel and the automatic transfer switch got damaged, all scratched up and stuff. And it's a stainless steel cabinet on the control panel, and the back of that got dented with a big scratch in it. And it's stainless, but when you scratch stainless, if it's cheap stainless, the impurities start to rust. So now that scratch in stainless steel panels rusting some. And obviously, if you buy a brand new car, you don't want to pay full price for it if it's got a big dent and scratch down the side. So we're working with them on that to figure out what the plan is, whether they replace those panels or do some kind of credit, or we do a retainage or whatever. We're still waiting to hear from DOT on their approval. We submitted for inspection a couple weeks ago. We're still waiting on answers from them. We're trying to get these projects wrapped up so that we can get all the paperwork submitted and close out the 2 grants that we have, but we can't do that until we get all the issues squared away, which are already on this project. But we're concerned that the extended delays that they've had in this project, and we've had to file for extensions on the grants, that it's going to affect the grants that we've currently applied for or are applying for. So we did submit for another MassWorks grant to do the North Street project. The engineer's pretty much done on that. Here's a set of plans if you guys want to look at that. The Depot Street project, they're probably more than halfway done with that on the engineering. They sent me a set of draft plans. We made a bunch of corrections, sent it back to them. They're going to make those corrections. We should have pretty much a material list ready to go out to bid pretty soon, within the next couple of weeks, I would say. If we can put that out to bid, at least get some of the ARPA money that we have towards this project allocated, that would be good. We do need to get the project out to bid before the end of the year. But I need the engineer's estimate so that we can have a number for town meeting if we have to borrow to cover the difference. We started working on, or we're working on, and have had some discussions with politicians about the loop that we want to do as part of that project. DCR had come up with a new policy they have, and anytime they try to do an easement, because we need an easement through DCR to get it down to create that loop. They put a new policy in place that apparently takes 2 years to get through. So that kind of doesn't work with our timeline, but we will have it prepared and ready to go to finish that in the event that we can't get it in time. So we're still working on that to see if we can either fast track it or get an answer sooner rather than later. But being a 2-year process, if we're going to go through it, I would prefer to see if we can get an easement from, at a minimum, the Franklin Street tank all the way down to Monroe Street, because that's all pretty level. So if we could create a loop that way from the tank all the way to Monroe, it's not far from Monroe on there to get down to Davis Street to create that loop, which I think would help the system a lot.
I'd like to see it go right down to South Street too. I'd love to see it go from South Street all the way to Monroe.
I mean, just in case we expand down that way,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I did look at the map and we looked at a bunch of options. I mean, certainly U Street wouldn't be too bad of a stretch. We already have water right to the corner of U and Glen Street, so it's 100 feet up, 100 200 feet maybe up the road to get to that. And then, like you said, if you go down one more, you get to South Street, and that kind of opens up a lot over there. Other projects. The lead service line, I'd say we're a little over half done with that. We just submitted for the second reimbursement to close out the fiscal year on that part of the project. The sewer asset management is done and closed out, I believe. Now we just have the water asset management, which we're probably about halfway through that project as well. We got a meeting next week with them to go over where we stand and what's left that we got to work on. What else do we have for projects? Those three, north. The Davis Street engineering still ongoing on that. We're right around halfway with that. That one's a little slower, just with all the things that we got going on. That one's not as much of a rush at this point because we don't have any potential development that we got going on at the moment, but we will start to move on that sooner or later.
Any tenants for these buildings?
The Blackstone Valley has a tenant. From what I heard, that's McKesson. I think there's large upgrades they need to do to the building in order to meet their needs. But that is moving forward. We do not have one. I guess there's probably 5 potentials for the 1.1 million. And then we'll wait to see on the grant and hear about the cubes at Pine, if that's moving forward. So we'll have a better idea on where we stand with that, and if the North Street water and road rehab and the storage tank up there moves forward. So yeah, it's been it's a tough time of year, especially with all these grants and everything, because there's a ton of paperwork and everything to deal with closing out fiscal years with those and getting reimbursements and everything in place to meet the finance director's needs, because whatever we don't get reimbursed for kind of goes against the tax levy at the end of the month. So we're trying to close up and wrap up as much as we can and get all the paperwork in for those reimbursements so it doesn't affect the tax rate.
Thanks.
That's about all it for the project updates. Is there anything you guys want to add on future agenda items?
No, I don't have anything.
Do you want to add the irrigation? Just to have it.
Well, you want to wait and see how we get what we pull for info, and then add it to the August one, the August meeting.
That's what I mean. Do you want to add that for the future agenda? So the next agenda, do we want to add irrigation on that?
Yeah, we could.
On that
We
agenda.
have some homework to do on that.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, Bob.
No problem. So you're gonna work on something for the irrigation?
Yeah, I'll try to put together a draft policy for you guys to review. That way, if you decide you want to move forward with lifting that ban, we can act on it sooner rather than later.
And does that affect anything with the permit? Like, is that a negative mark?
No, so actually, and that was one of the things I was going to bring to your attention, is that someone from the state actually told me you'd probably be better off getting rid of the ban, because at this point, if you have a ban in place and we get to a point where we need to take conservation efforts because we're either unaccounted for is too high, or there's other aspects that affect that, where they say, oh, well, according to your permit, now you have to implement these other steps.
Yeah.
We already have a ban in place that wasn't required
Yeah.
by the permit.
Yeah.
If we already have that in place, then we don't have anywhere to go with it. But
Yeah.
if we remove the ban, if they end up getting to a point where they come down and say, hey, you need to make more conservation efforts, you can put a ban in place, and that shows you're making efforts to do something. Yeah. So
We had talked about earlier, put a second meter in for that. And we can actually, the meters can tell you when they're using them and when they're not using them.
So the Neptune
sprinklers.
meters that we started going with all the commercial properties,
Yeah.
there's cellular radios on the meters, so we can pull up the data every day if we want.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys went through the whole
Yeah, yeah, I
presentation
remember.
with Ty Sales there, but with those meters, you know, we can monitor what they're doing, how often they're using, how much they're using.
Yeah,
So I
we've
think
had
it
a lot
gives-
of info.
It gives us a lot of info to use,
Yeah.
and we can see what and where we can save if we needed to, or who's not following the conservation rules, you know.
And they still would end up paying sewer on water that went on the ground.
So that's part of the policy I think that we would have to have some conversations about. You know, I was discussing a little bit with Bob, but you know, it's slightly unfair because there are customers that are not on sewer, so they're not getting that kind of
Right.
penalty.
Yeah.
I think that if we were to move forward with removing the ban, I think that anyone that has irrigation should have an irrigation meter. And I just think that the irrigation water, because we should be conserving, you shouldn't be using drinking water for watering
Right.
lawns. But people want to do it anyway, and it doesn't matter to them. So if we're going to do that, then I would say we have an irrigation meter, and we could use it as an exemption meter, not to charge sewer. But I think the irrigation rate should be higher
Yeah.
than the drinking water.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of creating a chart to say this meter is at this rate.
Yeah.
You know, we're not charging you sewer for it, but you are
Yeah.
getting charged more for the water.
Yeah.
It's just, it gives a little bit of a deterrent not to be
Yeah.
wasteful.
Yeah.
And if they want to pay a higher price to use up capacity that we have, that we could be adding development or whatever,
Right.
at least it's at a higher rate to help offset
Yeah.
what would be offsetting if we could add those customers to help the existing customers. So, like I said, there are some benefits to it that we could.
And each of those systems gets a backflow preventer, right?
Yeah, they have to have a backflow
They have
preventer,
to,
and that's plumbing code. So,
Yeah.
but we do have to have that, and the state did just come out with some notifications that they're jumping back on that backflow
Yeah.
program, or they're going to start auditing and
Okay.
checking to make sure everybody's implementing them the way they're
So
supposed
that
to.
would add to that
So that would be
for
a
us.
And those have to be
Yeah.
checked once a year, right?
twice a year on RPZs and once a year on double checks. So most of the irrigations are twice a year because those are RPZs.
Yeah, they have RPVs on them, most of them.
Yeah. So those are twice a year, and that's a cost to the customer as well.
Yeah.
So-
And we bill them separate on that?
Yep, they get a separate bill for those.
And they would have to pay for the meter too, right?
Yeah, so that would be, I don't want to say it's another connection, but it would be another meter, and there would be a fee associated with that, so.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we get something put together for the next meeting?
Mm. I will work on that. Anything else you guys have not reasonably anticipated?
I don't have anything. No.
Oh.
All
Okay.
right.
You all set, Bob?
I know.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 7:45.
Second it? No in favor?
Aye.
Aye.